Okay, we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got Gigabyte's new G1 Gaming RX 480 8GB graphics card. You guys have been wanting to see some custom 480 stuff here on the channel. I actually got this a couple weeks ago, but you haven't seen the video yet because this review has not quite gone as smoothly as I had hoped. Now, on a high level here, we'll just talk about some of the basics. This is a fully custom PCB from Gigabyte. The G1 gaming board is a custom. It is not a reference in any way. Custom cooler. In fact, the only thing AMD about it really is the Polaris GPU inside of it. Now, this is a 8GB card. I don't know if it has a 4GB model, to be honest with you, but this one is an 8GB card. Now, it's got a modest bump boost clock over the reference design. Reference is 1266 and this one is 1290. So that's only 24 megahertz of boost. It is not going to even be noticeable while you're gaming, a difference of 24 megahertz. So that's already kind of disappointing right off the bat. I mean, a custom card, a custom PCB, a custom cooler, 8-pin power connector on there, giving you more headroom when it comes to power draw and power limit, and only 24 megahertz of boost. And the memory is running at the exact same reference speed, so there's no bump in memory speed whatsoever. Okay, so at the risk of just talking for an hour and making this an unbearable video to watch, more so than it already is because my face is on your monitor, and I apologize that your pixels are being momentarily inconvenienced with that task, I want to go ahead and just show you the benchmarks and talk about a couple of things. Now, as you watch these benchmarks, I want you to keep a couple of things in mind. One, the 1060 is in there only because I know people are gonna ask me how does it compare to the 1060. It's the exact same 1060 results I ran in the past. It is the SC model from EVGA, which is a reference PCB. It is not a custom board. It is not a custom card. It is only a single fan cooler on there and a slight bump to the boost clock. There is no overclocking applied to the 1060. That was GPU boost taking care of everything. The reference 480, however, is running a custom fan curve on there to keep the card from slowing down at all as the reference cooler gets warm. And because the factory temperature target is 80, that cooler hits 80, and then once it does that, it will start to slow itself down. So I ran a custom fan curve because I didn't want the thing to throttle, and I wanted to see how it compared at 1266 versus 1290. So I went ahead and did that. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. A reference card out of the box with the fan profile will be slower than the results that you see now. Now, for those of you that were paying attention and saw the temperature slides, you probably kind of went, whoa, 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 pump the brakes here. What the actual fuck is happening with the temperatures? Let's talk about that because that's the part that I've been having some problems with here. The reference card was running an aggressive fan curve, as I said. So we were kept from hitting the temperature limit, which meant that the card wasn't throttling. And that's the whole reason why I did that, because I wanted to kind of simulate what I thought the aftermarket PCB and aftermarket cooler situation would be like on a reference card. And that's why I used those numbers again. Now, with this card here, unfortunately, the fan profile is extremely conservative because it errs on the side of noise. So it doesn't want to get too loud and in your face. So unfortunately, what it does is it allows the card to get all the way up to 80 once again on a custom PCB with a custom cooler. I started wondering what else is going on here. So when I overclocked it and ran the fans at 90%, we still hit 88C in a few benchmarks like Metro Last Light. And when I do those charts, I always show what the max temperature was in any of my tests, which happened to be 88C. And it was still climbing when the test ended, so it could have potentially hit the new limit of 90, which is set during overclocking. That, in my opinion, is way too hot for this cooler. I don't know why it's doing that. I want to go ahead live on camera, take the cooler off the PCB, and I want to see if there's something going on with the thermal compound. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and take the cooler off and see what we find. Kind of hard to tell, but it does seem to me like there is a little bit under applied thermal paste, I guess you could say. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and put on the same thermal paste I use in my water blocks. This is just the EK Tim, the Ecotherm they sell and send with all of their water blocks. So I'm gonna clean this off. I'm gonna apply new thermal paste. Looks like it's making good contact with the heat pipes right there, as you can see. We've got our VRAM heat pads on here. I mean, everything's making good contact. We've got our VRM pads right there. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and I am just going to reapply the thermal paste, run the test again, and see if the temperatures improve. You can see we're still hitting 78C right now with all the stock settings. So this is the second run actually. I've had Metro looping. This is now the start of the second loop and we're already at 78. Wouldn't be surprised if this is back at 80 by the end of the loop. So I'm not hopeful that this did anything for the overclocking results whatsoever. I mean, nope, there's 79. It's gonna hit 80. All right, conclusion time. Replacing the thermal paste made no difference whatsoever. Now, what's kind of neat about the AMD stuff is you can actually see how many watts it's pulling. And as you saw, it went from about 125, 127 watts at stock, all the way up to almost 200 watts when overclocked. But what this is telling me is for some reason, this cooler is not able to actually dissipate 200 watts of heat. Now, what I find kind of interesting too, and the reason why I thought it might have been thermal paste, is the air that's coming off the card when you put your hands around the card and you feel the air, it's not that warm, which made me think that heat wasn't making it out of the core and into the heat pipes and out into the atmosphere. And touching the backplate on the card was like burn you levels of hot. It was really hot. So I started thinking maybe the thermal paste is just bad. But as you can see, that wasn't the case. Now, if you're the kind of person that wants to buy a graphics card and you don't want to overclock it, you just want to put it in and off you go, you're still not going to be hands off with this card. You still need to go in and do a custom fan profile, speed up the fan so that you're not hitting ADC so you get the full benefit of the card. As you saw there, it's not running at 1290 megahertz out of the box. It is capable of hitting 1290, but it's always slowing down, which is really, really unfortunate because the advertised boost clock is not what you're actually getting. But once you go in and play with the fan profile a little bit and up the power limit a little bit, then it will actually give you those numbers. But I did the very same thing with my reference card. So really, I don't feel like, and my reference card is also able to overclock to the levels of this card, no problem, which with the exception of acoustics, didn't feel like there was a whole lot of benefit to this. So this is where I need you guys to chime in. This card has been available on the market for a few weeks now. I need to know if you bought this card, if you were seeing similar results, or if it looks like something might be up with this card. I'm genuinely disappointed. I expected and hoped for more out of a custom RX 480. I really did. But that is what it is. And I showed you guys the numbers live. There's no shenanigans happening. I'm really disappointed right now. I truly am. So I'm gonna go drown my sorrows in a, I don't know, coffee or something. I'm gonna go. All right. See you guys in the next one.